So this is another gem that has been released, the Nebuchadnezzar 2 tablets. These tablets have been translated. The man who translated them had to be quiet about them for many years, and now it's out. So this is Nineveh has fallen, and now we hear about Marduk's temple and King Nabopolassar's reign, who rebuilt the temple. In the 7th year of King Nabopolassar's reign, he took the entire year to rebuild the temple of Marduk, for he sought out the complete performance of Marduk's worship rites. And King Nabopolassar gave the city of Nineveh to his son, King Nebuchadnezzar, and his wife, Queen Amytis, before he died, to rule and to continue rebuilding the temple to Marduk. King Nabopolassar had begun to build the temple of Marduk, and the temple that King Nabopolassar began to build for Marduk, the length thereof was 6 score cubits, and the breadth thereof 40 cubits, and the height thereof 60 cubits. The porch before the temple was 40 cubits, was the length thereof according to the breadth of the house, and 20 cubits was the breadth before the house. For the temple he made windows of narrow lights. Against the wall of the temple he built chambers around about. Against the walls of the house round about, both of the temple and of Marduk's oracle, and he made chambers round about. Nethermost chamber was 10 cubits broad, and the middle was 12 cubits broad, and the third was 14 cubits broad, for without in the wall of the temple he made narrowed rests, that the beam should not be fastened in the walls of the temple. When it was in the building, was built of stone made ready, so that there was neither hammer, nor axe, nor any tool of iron heard in the house, while it was in the building. For the stones fit together. The door for the middle chamber was on the right side of the temple, and they went up with winding stairs into the middle chamber, and out of the middle into the third. So King Nabopolassar worked on the temple, and almost finishing it, he covered the temple with beams and boards of cedar. King Nabopolassar built chambers against all the temple, 10 cubits high, and they rested on the temple with timber of cedar. And the word of Marduk was spoken to King Nabopolassar through his priests, saying, concerning this temple which you are building, if you will walk in my statutes and execute my judgments and keep all my commandments to walk in them, then I will destroy all who stand before you, and I will dwell among the kingdom of Babylon, and will not forsake my king Nabopolassar or his son Nebuchadnezzar. King Nabopolassar worked upon the temple until he was fatigued and close to death. Built the walls of the temple within the boards of cedar, both the floor of the house and the walls of the ceiling, covered them on the inside with wood, covered the floor of the house with planks of fir, built 40 cubits on the sides of the temple, both the floor and the walls, with boards of cedar. Built them for it within, even for Marduk's oracle, even for the most sacred place. And the temple, that is the temple before, it was 80 cubits long. The cedar of the temple within was carved. Open flowers, all was cedar. There was no stone seen. Marduk's oracle, King Nabopolassar prepared in the temple within the sacrificial altar of Marduk. And Marduk's oracle in the forepart was 40 cubits in length and 40 cubits in breadth and 40 cubits height. And King Nabopolassar overlaid pure gold, covered the altar, which was of cedar. So King Nabopolassar overlaid the house within with pure gold. A partition by the chains of gold before Marduk's oracle overlaid it with gold. Whole temple King Nabopolassar overlaid with gold, until he had almost finished all the temple, also the whole sacrificial altar near Marduk's oracle, King Nabopolassar overlaid with gold. Within Marduk's oracle, King Nabopolassar made a golden statue of Marduk, 20 cubits in height, and took his hands as was the custom. 5 cubits was the one hand of Marduk, and 5 cubits the other hand of Marduk. From the uttermost part of the one hand unto the uttermost part of the other were 10 cubits. He set the hands within the inner temple so that the hand of the one touched the one wall, and the other hand touched the other wall. And Marduk's hands touched one another in the midst of the temple. King Nabopolassar then overlaid Marduk's hands with cedar and more gold. King Nabopolassar carved all the walls of the temple with carved figures of Enki. And open flowers within and without. And the floors of the temple he overlaid with gold, within and without. And for the entrance of Marduk's oracle, King Nabopolassar made doors of olive tree wood. The lintel and side posts were 1/5 part of the wall. The 2 doors of olive tree, and King Nabopolassar carved upon them carvings of Enki and open flowers, and overlaid them with gold and spread gold upon Enki. So also made King Nabopolassar for the door of the temple posts of olive tree wood. 1/4 part of the wall, and the 2 doors were of the fir tree. 2 leaves of the one door were folding, and the 2 leaves of the other door were folding. King Nabopolassar carved Enki and open flowers, and covered them with gold fitted upon carved work. King Nabopolassar built the inner court with 3 rows of hewed stone and a row of cedar beams. Nabopolassar's son Nebuchadnezzar fought in the battles of Carchemish and Hamath. And Nebuchadnezzar fought both battles, gave the glory to Marduk, and worshipped Marduk in the temple that King Nabopolassar had almost finished. Nebuchadnezzar then swore an oath to walk in Marduk's law and his judgments and his statutes, to work on the temple physically until it was finished, to give the temple a fountain flowing with milk and honey. Yeah, and here comes the deathbed statements. It's basically praising Marduk over all others. What I find interesting is that here in the following text, Ea is mentioned, Enki, we heard that, and Marduk. So yeah, according to this account, that was very real. After the invasion of the Anunnaki that started playing God for the humans, and they established worship. So, and no, this was not translated by Zechariah Sitchin. It's somebody else altogether. Maybe one day I will read about how this gentleman came to translate these 39 tablets. He actually had the real tablets in his hand, and it was a private owner. And I sometimes wonder how much of our history is lost because somebody has a scroll, somebody has some tablets. They are not even in a museum. They're just in private hands. So there you have it. Marduk and Enki. Have a nice weekend.